Okay, so this part I'm having to film with my phone, and boy, it's probably going to be a little shaky here and there because I don't have my, stand or anything like that to set it on. So I'm going to be working with one hand holding the phone, but this is what you guys will be doing today. Please don't do anything yet. Okay, these are just pre-made to show you what it should look like. We're gonna start over here and then move, down. Actually, we might just go all the way down, both ways. So don't mind this and don't mind this yet. Okay. To get started, there are different sections. I want you guys to label these. This actually will be turned in, so do your best. Make sure you're participating because I will be taking this as a grade. On this corner right here, I've got my name. You guys can have your name on the back, it doesn't really matter. And I labeled it Watercolor Practice. Not that you have to. And then light to dark in one box, and then dark to light in another box. Y'all, please feel free to pause this. Miss Myers, feel free to pause this so that everyone can get this labeled. But as you guys go, you can label it as well. You don't have to get everything labeled right this second. So there's 8 boxes. We are going to use all of them. This box right here, you might want to go ahead and pre-paint with whatever color you want because it's wet on dry color. So you have to have the color already there and dry. So actually go ahead and fill this box, the second one on the bottom row, with whatever color you want. Okay? And then we'll let that dry. Okay, don't do anything with this box. I just wanted to show you what it looks like as it's dry. Because it looks different wet, okay, you can see salt, but it will look different when it's dry. It's not dry yet. I'm still waiting. Anyway, okay. So, we're going to fill this whole thing up. Let's go ahead and start with this first one. Basic application, okay? Can y'all hear my baby? Okay, so first one, basic application. You're just gonna take some water, fill your brush up really good. Okay, I'm gonna just put this right here. Water, choose your color, doesn't really matter. It's just practice anyways. So whatever color, and just do whatever. Okay, basic application. As the color spreads, it gets lighter. You can go back in, do some more, just random. Okay, this is just, on dry paper, just as whatever you have. The less water you use, the thicker the color. Okay, so the thicker the color. Okay, more water down here, less water up here, and less water here. And then down here you can really spread it around. Anyway, basic application, okay? Second one, when everyone's ready, is going to be multiple colors on dry paper. So for this, you're gonna, work a little quickly, figure out what color you want to use first. Put that on. Swish your color off. Choose another color, doesn't matter what. Oh, geez. Put that on. Maybe a little bit more. Don't mind the background noise. She's fine, I promise. She's just talking. Okay. So I've got 3 colors. They're not very, they don't fill in very much. You can see it's very watery, which it's supposed to be like that. Okay. Go back up. Sure. Okay, so multiple colors on dry paper. Okay, so for number 3, we're going to do color on wet paper. So for this one, get a clean brush, get a clean thing of water, and go ahead and paint the paper. This, you have to work quickly, okay? The more your paper is wet, okay, you can see it soaking through. Don't do it too much. You gotta go in with your color right away. So pick your color and really go for it. It spreads around pretty cool. So this one, you can do multiple colors and they blend together. So I've got orange. I don't want to go too crazy. Let's do red. Baby girl's tired. They blend together really nicely. Okay, it just like spreads around the page. It'll look a lot different once it's dry, so please don't worry about it pooling. Okay, so apologies for all the background noise. Little baby girl is quite tired, and I'm the only one here. So let's move on to this spot right here, light to dark, and then you guys are gonna need to do one for dark to light. Guess which one is correct? Okay, so with watercolors, if you go dark first, like this, you cannot go lighter. Like if you have a purple or like a dark blue or even black, you cannot go in with, you know, the yellows or even white. I don't know why we have white for watercolor, but you can't go lighter. It just won't. It's very transparent. It's not opaque like acrylics. Okay, so watercolors are very light and transparent. So dark first doesn't work. If you want to do light, you're gonna have to use that first. Okay, so with watercolors, it's different than basic acrylic paint that you guys are used to. Watercolors, if you go dark, you can't get a light color to go on top of it. Since they're so transparent and light, okay, with all the other stuff that I've got on here, if you go too dark, like a dark purple, a dark blue, or even black, you can't put another lighter color on top and have it show. Okay, so you have to work from light to dark when you do your projects or paintings. Okay, so right now I have the yellow on there. I'm gonna go in, I don't know, just a random color that's darker. This reddish brown color, okay? Going in, and of course, you know, you can see it. Like, it's very vibrant. Definitely darker than the yellow. I think I might blend it in a little bit. But anyway, you can, of course, obviously see the darker color on top of that yellow. Okay, and then if we, I don't know, I guess we can use black. Go even darker. Of course, you know, it shows up. Y'all be careful with how much water you use, because this paper isn't exactly watercolor paper. It's gonna soak through, it's gonna, you know, you see all the areas that are soaking in. That's the paper going in and out. So just be careful with how much water. Okay, so of course the lightest is still there, and then it gets darker quite easily. Now when we go from dark to light, you're not going to be able to do any details. So we're going to start with dark. Okay, I got a brown. And we're going to see what the yellow looks like on top of it. Okay, maybe let it dry for a little bit. I don't really have the time to let mine dry, but I'll show you what yellow looks like on top. Don't have to pick the colors I'm choosing. You probably don't have all the colors I have, sorry. So a yellow, it shows up at first, but once it dries and blends in, it's not going to be as vibrant, and it won't show up as nicely as if it were just on its own. Okay, so that's very nice and vibrant. Oh, cool. Some of the brown is soaking in. So the yellow over here is really vibrant. Okay. And then it disappears within this dark. Okay. So go from light to dark when you are doing your piece. And with all of these, we'll check in once they dry as well. So dark to light, not so great. Light to dark, you can definitely see each color. Alright, so the next one, push this over. Working on the bottom row, this piece should be dry, okay, but we'll get to that in just a minute. Okay, let's see. So the next piece is multiple colors on wet paper. Okay, up here for number 3, we did one color on wet paper. Now we're going to do multiple colors on wet paper. So y'all are going to have to work fast with this one. Okay, again, you're going to need clean water. So go get that. Okay, clean water. Work fast. Get it all wet. This is where the big paintbrush comes into play. Maybe I'll get the small paintbrush when I do the multiple colors. Get that all wet. Okay, so wet paper. Grab colors. Oh no. Okay. I'm getting a lot of colors wet just to begin with. Okay. So hopefully this is not going to dry. All right. I'm going to do a small brush so we can get some detail. Okay. Really pack in the water. Okay, we've got another one. My piece is drying a little bit, so if it dries too much, get more water. It's always a fine balance. Too much water will make your paper rip. Too little water will just ruin the effect. Okay, so we got a nice gradient going on here. Kind of blend in. I'm going to go back to the big brush because there's just not enough water here. Okay, I'm going to dot these next ones on and we're going to watch them kind of flow together. Okay, I'm going to go in with a lighter version. Okay, just dotting it everywhere. Let's do so just tons of colors on wet paper. It blends nicely. It's going to start, you know, flowing. Actually might look cool. And you can go back in with water. Okay, so you've got your color. You can drop, you know, water on there so it blends together even more. Maybe we want that distinction to go away. Okay, just like tons of water, have it all blend together. How much you want it to blend is up to you. How much you want it to mix. Okay, so these colors are mixing quite nicely. We can always drop more where there's not much. And I think I've pretty much exhausted how much paint this paper can take. So I'm just going to leave it like that and let it dry and see what we come up with. Alright, so the next one. Okay, this is sort of dry. Okay, y'all might want to wait, or you probably paused enough to let this dry all the way. So we're going to go wet on dry color. So the color's already dry, and we're going to layer this with, let's go with some purple, a darker color. Because remember, dark to light doesn't work very well, but light to dark works really well. Okay, so it's dry, and maybe I want, you know, just some basic lines. So there's not much water on this. It's very, very pigmented. Okay, it just depends on you what you want. Sorry. Okay, let's go in with, let's do this really bright light pink. Again, I apologize that y'all don't have the same color choices as I do. Just work with what you've got. This is just practice. So you can kind of see it, but not really. It's kind of there because it's lighter than the background color. If we go off, you can of course see it much better. But it's kind of there. Gives it a little effect. Okay. So that's what that is. If you want to do something really wet, just make sure your little watercolor pan has a lot of water in it. If you want to go really fluid on something that's dry. Okay, so very fluid. Definitely not as dark and pigmented as these spots right here. Okay, just a little bit of color. Okay, the next one is we're gonna do like a dry brush technique to show some texture. Okay, now this can go over wet, it can be just on its own, it's up to you. I'm just gonna do it over white, and I'm gonna use the big brush and the small brush. Kind of have a color that's already sort of wet, but dry brush. It's got texture. Okay, not too much water. It shows the texture of the brush. Okay, let's try the big one. Okay, there's a lot more water on this one, so it may not be perfect, but yeah, actually that had a little bit too much water. Okay, let's try it again with dark. Let's take some of that off. Okay, so my brush isn't like perfect. Please don't ruin the brushes, but you can do some texture stuff with this. Dots. Make like different bushes or trees when you do your actual artwork. Maybe some swirls for like a cloud look. Really light. Anyway, okay, there's dry brush to use texture. Alright, the last one that we're gonna do, let me get my light back over here, is using salt. Okay, so on the demo table there's a thing of salt. I've got this, okay, and I'm also going to try, I've never done this, but I have this grinder and I'm going to try to grind on some thick stuff. So right now, this is dry. It didn't do as much as I wanted it to. Once it's dry, please don't wipe the salt off until it's dry. Once it's dry, it's supposed to make this like stippling effect. And sometimes it works better than others. I'm going to try this new one with a lighter color because it didn't really show up. So, there's all my salt. Okay, so get a color onto your piece. Now, for this to work, you have to use, it has to be wet, but when you put your salt on. So if it's dry, it's not going to work. So get it really wet. Get your salt in your hand. Please don't pour it directly from the bottle to your paper. Okay, and then sprinkle it on. Okay, it's going to start pooling up in different spots where the salt is. Okay, the darker areas you can pour it on. We'll see how that works. It kind of soaks up the pigment, soaks up the water, and we'll see if using this does anything different with the lighter color. Okay, so my salt is all on there. Don't touch it until it dries. It's got to dry all the way in order to take the salt off and not like smear it. Okay, I think that would be obvious, but some people try to take it off before it's dry and then their piece kind of gets ruined. So You're just gonna have to sit tight and wait for that to dry. Here's my whole piece. Okay. So some pieces have dried. This definitely is still wet. Still wet, still wet, of course still wet. So that's the practice.